I've told you guys a number of times that NBA on TNT is my favorite show. I think it's the best thing on TV, and the reason it is, the guys are hilarious and they are brutally honest. They didn't get the memo that if you're part of mainstream media, that you got to tone it down and you got to filter the things you say and you have to walk on eggshells. They don't give a fuck. And so Shaq is great, Kenny's great, Chuck is great, EJ is great. It's just the best chemistry on TV. Anyway, so last night was the kickoff of the NBA season. I saw both games, by the way. The Bucks look phenomenal. That Lakers team is interesting because it's like a who's who of stars from the mid-aughts. You know what I mean? So you got like Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook, Dwight Howard, of course, LeBron James. That team could be a problem if they find, their rhythm and their footing and their own chemistry. But they lost to the Warriors because, of course, Steph Curry's a monster. Anyway, they talked about Kyrie Irving and the fact that he's refusing to get the vaccine. I think at this point he might be the only... No, it's like him and Bradley Beal, I think, are the only holdouts in the NBA, or the only, very public ones. I think I read a fact that it was 95% of the NBA at this point is vaccinated. I think Andrew Wiggins was hesitant to do it, but then eventually he did it. Well, Charles Barkley has some thoughts on what Kyrie is doing here, and there's a little bit of a debate between him and Kenny. They also talked to Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, about Kyrie's refusal to take the vaccine. Let's take a look, and then we'll break it down.
True. So we began this night with a 90-minute pregame show, and in the course of that 90 minutes, we had a chance to talk to the commissioner, Adam Silver. One of the questions was if you could send a message to Kyrie Irving, who was unvaccinated and not playing for Brooklyn, what would it be?
I'd tell him to get vaccinated, first and foremost, for himself and his family, next for his teammates and his community, and also for the league that I know he cares so much about. I understand, that it's not just Kyrie. There are people in this country who disagree with the notion of getting vaccinated, but at least from everything that I understand, science is firmly on the side of getting vaccinated.
New York City law says you have to be vaccinated or you cannot be at large indoor gatherings, sporting events like this included. So while Kyrie Irving could not play at home or practice at home, he could play on the road, but then the Nets decided, no, if you're not going to be around for our home games, you're not going to be here for the road games either. What'd you think?
Well, I think two things. One, I would say I have empathy for what Kyrie is doing. I can understand that he has an uncomfortability about vaccinations. I'm not going to sit here and think that because I'm vaccinated and want to believe in vaccinations, that I'm smarter, because most people who got vaccinated probably don't know the 4 ingredients inside of it, that inside of vaccination. But the same way the people who are unvaccinated probably couldn't tell you the 4 ingredients in an aspirin. So it really comes down to comfortability. What you've read and what you understand, are you comfortable with it? Do I have sympathy? No. Do I have empathy? Yes. Do I understand that he could be uncomfortable with getting vaccinated? Sure. And as long as he's willing to take the consequences for it, I cannot stop him. Now, if he says, I shouldn't do this, and he's taking the consequences for it, I can understand it. That's your choice. Maybe I wouldn't do that, but that's up to you.
Your buddy over here is grimacing. Chuck?
First of all, you don't get the vaccine for yourself. You get it for other people.
No, I'm not saying.
Hold on, first. You said your piece.
No, I didn't say you do.
I got vaccinated. I can't wait to get the booster. You don't get vaccinated just for yourself. Like Adam said, you get vaccinated for your family first. You get vaccinated for your teammates second, things like that. That's what bothers me about this whole thing. I think everybody should get vaccinated. And let me tell you something, I really am proud of the Nets for putting their foot down, for saying, no, we're not going to deal with this half on, half off. The only thing that bugs me, he's still going to make $17 million sitting at home. I wish they could find a way, if he wants to go on this thing, people say he's like Ali. First of all, don't ever compare anybody to Ali. Ali went 3 years without boxing. He was the highest paid athlete in the world. This guy going to make $17 million for sitting at home. But to every person out there, you don't get vaccinated just for yourself. Let's get that out the way.
And no one said you don't.
Yeah, let Shaq have his say. We got about a minute left.
I try not to tell a person what they should and shouldn't do, right? To each his own. However, in this land that we live in, there's laws and society. And then, Kenny, you know this, what I'm about to say. In order to win the championship, you got to sacrifice. So if I have the thoughts that I have, and then you as Kevin Durant, you say, I'm going to get it, and then you as James Harden say, I'm going to get it, I might as well get it. But Chuck makes a great point. It ain't about you, it's about getting everybody else. I mean, because I had some, second thoughts, but, I said, you know what, I'm not going to get Dr. Lucille O'Neal sick. I'm not going to get Latifah. I'm not going to get...
And I said the same.
No, I want to say one thing. Give a shout out to one of my ex-teammates who was in the ICU for the last month with COVID. Said Sabalos, I'm glad you're on the mend. I love you. I'm glad you beat this thing, brother.
The Brooklyn Nets without Kyrie Irving taking on the Milwaukee Bucks here on opening night. Milwaukee with the halftime lead by 7.
So originally, what they were, let me give everybody the total breakdown so you understand this. The NBA said we're going to have a policy. They originally wanted a policy of mandatory vaccinations for everybody. Now the refs union had some people who were against it, but most were for it, and so the more people won, they voted on it, and they were for mandatory vaccinations. All the refs got vaccinated. The players' union said that's a non-starter. We're not in favor of mandatory vaccinations. And so the NBA took a position of get vaccinated or test. That was their position. And again, about 95% of the NBA ended up getting vaccinated. Now, the problem that arose is that in both California and New York, they have laws that say if you're going to be at a big gathering, you have to be vaccinated. So for Kyrie Irving playing for the Brooklyn Nets, in order for him to play at the home games, he has to be vaccinated. And he refuses to get vaccinated. Now, I read that Kyrie, it's not just that he's like, it's not like he has a religious issue with it. He's actually gone down the conspiracy rabbit hole where he was liking some posts about how there's like a microchip in it trying to track you. Okay, well, listen, on that front, Kyrie, you're just wrong. Like, you're just believing charlatans and frauds. And the evidence, I mean, I don't need to bring this up. You guys all know this by this point, but the evidence of the efficacy of the vaccine is overwhelming. French study of 22 million people, and it cut severe COVID risk by 90%. Study of 22 million people. 22 million. The chart of people vaccinated going to the hospital versus unvaccinated. Unvaccinated spikes. It's almost a total flat line for vaccinated folks. So you guys all know that. Kyrie went down some conspiracy rabbit hole. By the way, remember when he was flirting with like flat earth theory not that long ago? So he's just misreading the evidence, and then his stubbornness is getting in his way. He thinks he's taking some brave, principled stand. And Charles Barkley comes out here and lays the smackdown, and he's like, it's not just about you, it's also about everybody around you. Which is also, by the way, why right now the vaccine is approved for 12 years old and up. It's why 12 and 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds should get the vaccine. Yes, it's overwhelmingly likely if you're 13 and you get COVID, you're going to recover. All the data shows that. It's a very tiny number of people who've actually passed away from COVID if you're that young. But you get the vaccine for herd immunity so that you don't pass it to grandma or grandpa or dad or mom or, your obese neighbor who you might pass it to and they might die. So Charles Barkley's point is, listen, I know people who are in the hospital with COVID or were on a ventilator and they're in the ICU, and I know people who've died, and it's not just about you. It's about them too. So you're not some sort of hero. Stop pretending you're some sort of hero. You just misread the evidence and you're stubborn on the situation. Now, I'm surprised that basically everybody on that panel sort of is against Kyrie. I thought Shaq was going to come in with more of an individualism argument, but he didn't. He didn't, because he said, I was thinking of my kids, and I was like, so I better do it. And Charles Barkley's point is, it's about your family. It's about your teammates. It's about, everybody in society. You're trying to protect people. So it was interesting to see that. Now, I will say, though, this is where even I think my own audience disagrees with me on this because I polled it. my take has always been I'm not in favor of hard mandates. And the reason I'm not in favor of hard mandates is very simple. A hard mandate presupposes that the government is always looking out for you in your best interest. Now, for this particular issue with the COVID vaccine, it works. And so for them to say, get the vaccine, they are looking out for your best interest, whether or not you realize it, okay? But this is not every instance. And we all know how misleading the government can be, how full of liars they are. We all know the historical situations of the government doing incredibly nefarious things. The Tuskegee experiments, the Bay of Pigs, Operation Northwoods. I mean, the list goes on. And you say, well, Kyle, that's in the past. It's not just in the past. It's also, we're still undermining democratically elected governments and trying to overthrow them and put in dictators. And so you should have a skepticism of the institutional powers. Where I diverge from the Kyrie types is that your skepticism shouldn't become cynicism. So because some conspiracies are true doesn't mean every single conspiracy is true. Because sometimes the government's not looking out for your best interest doesn't mean that all the time they're not looking out for your best interest. And with 720,000 corpses piled on top of each other, yeah, the reason they say get the vaccine is because they don't want that shit to be 1 million or 2 million or 4 million. So I've always said I'm in favor of like a soft mandate. So what does that mean? That means kind of like what Biden did, where he said, listen, either get the vaccine or get tested all the time. Those are your options. I'm not saying you have to get the vaccine. You actually don't have to get the vaccine. But if you're not going to get the vaccine, it might be a little bit of a pain in the ass because you're going to have to take tests all the time. Totally fine with that. So you want to make it a little bit of an inconvenience for people to not get the vaccine? That's fine. Because then they can't say, oh, my freedom, oh, my liberty. We're giving you your freedom and your liberty. Because nobody's saying you have to take the vaccine. So where I end up falling in the whole situation is where the NBA originally was, which is everybody should get vaccinated, and it should be incentivized to get vaccinated. Somebody made a good point to me saying, if you just pay people to get vaccinated, like the vaccination rate would probably be at least 10 percentage points higher. That's probably true. Give $200 to everybody to get vaccinated, vaccination rate would be way higher. But ultimately, you could do that, but that's not going to affect Kyrie. So the true ideological types, it's like, okay, you want to be an idiot and you want to be wrong? Fine. But since he's always around a whole bunch of people, you know what? You're going to have to do daily testing. If that can give us the same outcomes, so nobody else is going to get sick and he doesn't have to take the vaccine, even though he's wrong to not want to take the vaccine, I don't see the problem with that. You see what I'm saying? So if in Kyrie's situation, either get vaccinated or do daily testing. So I would hope New York and California would both, basically pass laws saying, okay, you can either get vaccinated or do daily testing instead. So that's where I fall on it. I'm not saying Charles Barkley and Shaq and Kenny are wrong, because what they're doing is taking a hardline stance and with passion calling for Kyrie to do the right thing, which is get the vaccine. And make no mistake about it, it is the right thing. But I guess I have a little more, not just empathy, but also sympathy for people who distrust our institutions so much that it's almost like they break their own brains and their cynicism and their skepticism becomes cynicism. That's not where I am. I think you have to look at everything on a case-by-case basis and evaluate rationally each time. But I do understand where that instinct comes from. And I do understand that if you get brainwashed by misinformation, it's a process for people to basically deconvert you from stupidity. And if you're not going to be able to do that, just get tested every day. So originally they were saying Kyrie could play half the season, and on the road he'll play with the Nets, and when they're at home he won't play. But then the Nets said, no, fuck that. We're not going to have like two totally separate teams, a star player on and a star player off. How's the chemistry going to work and everything? So no. You're just going to sit out until you get vaccinated. We'll see if that ends up making him actually do it. I'll tell you this, if he doesn't do it, I think his stock as a player plummets. And I think other teams that might potentially look at him for the future would be like, we don't really want to deal with him because he's an idiot and he's stubborn. And what does that say about his work ethic? What does that say about his ability to listen when plays are drawn up? What does that say about his, accepting a role on the team and not trying to be the end-all, be-all? I think that it speaks a lot to his mindset, and you're going to have other teams look at that and say, I don't want to deal with that shit. And so his stock plummets as a player. So that's where I stand on the whole situation. He should get vaccinated. If he doesn't, I'd be fine with daily testing. But either way, I like to see, somebody aggressively make the case. And that's what Charles Barkley is doing. That's what all of them on the panel are doing. They're saying you're not some sort of hero. You're actually being pretty stupid. And I think that's correct. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.